Welcome to the Industrial Talk Podcast with Scott MacKenzie. Scott is a passionate industry professional dedicated to transferring cutting-edge, industry-focused innovations and trends while highlighting the men and women who keep the world moving. So put on your hard hat, grab your work boots, and let's go.
All right, once again, welcome to Industrial Talk, the number one industrial-related podcast in the universe that celebrates industry professionals all around the world. You are bold. Yes, you are brave. You dare greatly. You innovate. You collaborate. You solve problems, and that's why we celebrate you on this podcast. We are broadcasting on site. It is Reston, Virginia. If you haven't been here, well, it looks like Reston, Virginia. And it is the OMG Q1 meeting, and it's a collection of problem solvers. They definitely talk above my capability. I just sit and I listen, sort of like a fireside chat. And this brings up a good point and a good segue into David McKee. He's exactly that. I'm going to sit by the fire and he's going to teach me something. How you doing, David?
Yeah, not too bad. I wonder if I'll see Reston this time. I still don't know what it looks like. And I've been here multiple times, you know, airport to hotel, back to the airport.
Yeah, what do you do for dinner?
Actually, I made it out of the hotel this morning for coffee.
Did you?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
There's a Starbucks just down the corner.
Oh, yeah, but there's this place that we went for lunch. It's spectacular, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Don't ask me what the name is. Don't. Even, again, that's you're asking way too much. But the reality is that it was spectacular. It's just right over in the corner. Just go out there.
Have a look and see.
Yeah, my wife knows, and I'm telling you, it's good.
We'll give it a go.
You need to. It's just a hop, skip, and a jump. Right there. All right, let's level set. Let's make sure that we know who David is again. Give us a little background on who you are.
Yeah, no, thanks. Good to be back.
Because things change.
They do.
He embodies. David embodies industry. Industry goes through a lot of change. David goes through a lot of change. Right there. There we go.
Yeah, well, no, absolutely. I mean, the first time we spoke, we were on the other side of the planet.
Yeah.
We were in Barcelona, and I was the founder, CEO, and CTO at Slingshot Simulations. Obviously, I'm still the founder. That never changes.
Yeah, I was going to say it. Here's my founder's car.
There we go. No. But after going through multiple rounds of venture capital funding and all that fun stuff, sleepless nights and all that. Yeah, no.
Grinder.
It's nice not to be doing that right now.
Yeah. I can imagine.
I started the process of exiting from there about this time last year. Fully out by 11th of August. 2023, get my year right.
Don't ask me about the math.
And then, in the process of what we're all here about, trying to slow down and take it easy, I lasted about 2 hours and decided to accidentally set up another company.
Because that's what you do.
Because that's clearly what me and my wife do.
That's what the internet says.
Yeah, absolutely. So, me and my wife are sat there, both slowing down, having both been at Slingshot and slowing down. Yeah. And, we've got a toddler at home, so it's not like we're not busy. Yeah. And I think she must have gone down for a nap, and by the time my daughter woke up, we'd set up another company.
Check this out.
But actually, on that, we set up a company called Counterpoint Technologies. And Counterpoint. Yeah. And really, what was the motivation for it? I mean, my wife's a bit of a branding genius around this. Was we kept people saying, well, the counterpoint to this, or the counterpoint to this, and we're like, oh, that's a really good idea. We like that word. We'll take that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But what's really interesting is we're trying to disrupt the way we do business, change the business playbook. Obviously within a technology focus, but actually, how do we do things in a more sustainable way? And I'm not talking just about the green agenda. But actually sustainability from society perspective, from a small company to a large company. How do we make things that actually can survive and grow and make a genuine impact for everyone around us?
Give us and everybody is, and it's natural. When somebody says sustainability, we're talking about trees or something like that, something green. Give us just a little example of what you mean by something a little bit more than that.
So I think one example, so we work with quite a lot of startups now, and I'll talk a bit more about what we do at Counterpoint in a second. But actually, how do we help them and founders maybe not have to raise that extra round of investment? By helping them grow in a more sustainable way, because actually that's part of it. You know, it's actually, that's part of building sustainable businesses.
Yeah.
You know, of course we want them to do things in a more green way and all that as well, but actually they can't do that if they're not around anymore.
It's true. No, that's
so. You know, so we're looking at how do we help them grow in that more consistent fashion. Sometimes that means slowing down. None of us like doing that. Yeah, I know, I'm not very good at it. But slowing down, stopping, breathing, and saying, hang on a minute, what do we need to do? How do we make sure that we don't miss payroll? How do we assess what the customer genuinely wants? You know, we're here at a tech, you know, at very much a tech conference. This is where we're here at the cutting edge of stuff. And actually, one of the businesses that we work with, and I'll talk more about it, is a business called Crisp, CRYSP.
I saw that on the on your stat card out on LinkedIn, and going, hey, check that name out. That's a pretty cool name.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah,
I gravitate to the names. It's like that's how I buy wine.
It's a good name, but what's fascinating about them is they embody digital transformation. They're a member here of the Digital Twin Consortium as well. And do they have all the bells and whistles that most of the people here in this building have? No. But they are inherently about helping businesses get from paper-based filing cabinets to digital in as quick and easy a fashion as possible. And then we can do all the cool, funky stuff.
Yeah.
But actually, that's where people are at. You know, we can talk about all this fun stuff, but if we can't do the basics right and get away from filing cabinets, then we can talk about AI, we can talk about machine learning, we can talk about computer vision, VR headsets, HoloLens, and you name it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. I've got a filing cabinet in my basement.
You're just talking about blocking and tackling, just the basic business blocking and tackling, but it's
fundamental.
It's and the with a strategic mindset to go in digital, you have to get the basics down.
Yeah, well, absolutely, absolutely. Cool. And you know, and with like them, I'll come back to some of the digital twin stuff in a second. You know, they've come at it from the sectors that nobody else wants to touch. Highly regulated.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Typically not very much money. So schools.
Yes.
Healthcare. And construction sites.
What about utilities? They're high.
So interestingly, with that one is the biggest customer is EDF.
Oh yeah.
So you know, one of the world's largest energy providers, and they are currently providing health and safety compliance. So you know, someone trips, is the fire escape safe, etc. All that fun stuff. It's kind of important to two of the biggest nuclear sites in the UK because it's simple. There's no fancy sensors. It is a dashboard and a repository. But what's fascinating about it is because they've managed to get to this point where the data is consistent, now we can do cool stuff. We can now put it on map. We can now look at 3D. We can look at all this fun stuff. But 2 years ago, we couldn't because the data was in filing cabinets.
See, this is so interesting when we start talking about that. And it is always, inevitably, I have conversations around data. And then I always go to the point is like, yeah, that data, I guarantee you, how do you clean and scrub and get that data?
Exactly, yeah.
Because it's always, who's going to do that? How far back do you go?
And then who's going to maintain it? Because it has to
Who's going to maintain it?
It has, you know, like, you know, if you go to teachers, so we've helped this platform's now in schools. It's in dozens, I think it must be 70 plus schools. You know, for children's safety, people, you know, they trip, they hurt themselves. Schools have to keep that data for 25 years. That's a long time.
Yes.
I'm sorry, but teachers are already overworked. Are they going to sit there cleaning data?
Yeah.
Well, I hope not, because, you know, I don't want to pay for them to be cleaning data.
Yeah. No.
I want them to be teaching my kids.
Nobody wants to even clean data.
Well,
let's put it that way.
Yeah.
That's a whole other conversation.
So, you know, by providing that environment where it is just is, by making it easy to put it in right in the first place and not doing the fancy stuff, we've now got this foundation and base layer to build digital twins, to do all these other cool things on top of it. And inherently that means we're in the process where we can now look at sustainable systems. They're inherent. And when we first spoke a couple of years ago, I think it must have been, was it May 2020? I can't remember, 20.
Yes, it was.
Thereabouts. Thereabouts.
I agree.
No, it came in 2020. That was lockdown. So it was the first one after that.
22, 21, 20.
A year.
Yes, it was.
Yes, in Barcelona. But we first talked about this concept called a sustainable digital twin.
Yes.
And we talked about it as being two orthogonal layers around how do you build digital twins sustainably in terms of responsible compute, energy for power and storage and all that fun stuff. But also how do you build digital twins for sustainable systems, and how do you do it more from an organizational, how do you do it for ecology, all that. So there's these different angles to that. And someone like Crisp I find really interesting because it creates this sustainable, very light touch, but regulated, assured platform that we can build upon. And then here at the Digital Twin Consortium, where I'm chairing the Capabilities and Technologies Working Group, we're cut across all the different working groups within the consortium, working with nearly every single member, working in some ways nearly with every single use case, learning from every single one, learning what they're doing in aerospace and defense, and applying it to farming. Learning what they're doing in supply chain and applying it to pharmaceutical and vice versa, and using that to build best practices. So in the last probably 18 months or so, there's two really exciting outputs that came out from the consortium that are worth mentioning. So a colleague of mine, Peter van Schalkwijk from XM Pro, led a piece of work around a capabilities periodic table. And I
just saw it out on LinkedIn.
It's really cool.
It's just like right then and there. And I just like, oh, yeah, let me give it a thumbs up.
Exactly.
What I did, yeah.
Exactly. But that's one of the things that came from us working together to see what is the common capabilities that we have across all of these use cases, so you can use almost as your shopping list to say, actually, rather than talking about how we build it, what database do we need, or what cloud, or all that, let's talk about capability. As a business, what do we need to be able to do? We need to store data. Great. Let's just leave it at that for now. We need to be able to have some alerts. We need that. We'd like some, fancy UI. Okay, we'll have that piece. And we find that an average use case has between 15 and about 25, 27 of these capabilities out of a total set of 62.
Huh.
And I did a workshop in Chicago 6 months ago now, where we went through a set of 12 different use cases, and we filled them all down in the space of 2 hours to a single set of capabilities. And we looked at the common patterns, and it turns out it's really easy to do with stakeholders of everything from your CEO to your end user. They can all get on board with it because it's common language and it's simple language. And that was one of the first, a really great output from Peter, because it creates this foundation to accelerate through that initial stage of requirements. The next piece that we did, which I was fortunate enough to lead and we published last July, was a platform stack architectural framework, which is a bit of a mouthful. But in essence, it is a blueprint for what are the key building blocks you need to build an architecture of a digital twin. You need an IT system, and you need some compute, you need some networking, some storage. You need this what's called a virtual representation, where there's some models, there's some simulation. You need mechanisms to synchronize these, and it's all the kind of template building blocks. So you can look at it and you say, right, I need this, and I need to have X, Y, Z. I need to fill that whole stack. Because the reality is, there's hardly a single vendor out there who could provide you the whole thing.
Huh.
And that, because the reality is, every company is slightly different. Digital twins are typically answering really hard questions, and therefore you typically need more than one solution. And by combining the capabilities periodic table with the architectural framework, what we've been able to provide is a really quick way for you to go from your concept of, I need this. Okay, what do you need? Capabilities. Let's put these, where do they sit on a stack diagram, which any systems architect, any CTO can immediately look at it, they can immediately put it on the wall, and they will immediately understand it. We deliberately kept it to 18 pages only, rather than 100 plus. So it was a light read of diagrams of this is what you need. And we've seen, I think we're into the tens of thousands of companies we've seen adopt that as a guiding principle, as a checklist of, do we have the building blocks? Do we have what we need? Have we got this bit? It's quite easy to forget that you need something.
Yeah, but see, this is what's interesting, and I like where you're going with this, because every time I have conversations here at OMG and with plenty of the big thinkers, I want to gravitate to something that's approachable, something that I can do, something that I don't feel stupid but being able to make it simple, make it approachable, I think that then you get compliance. You get people saying, yeah, this is the right thing to do.
No, you're absolutely, and that was the biggest challenge.
Yeah,
and that was the biggest challenge in terms of both of those
bringing
pieces.
it down to the masses,
and make it really accessible. But what it turns out is that provides a method for rapid adoption.
Yes.
Is there a single line of code there? No, it doesn't matter. It's a picture.
Yeah.
And in reality, we're talking about just 2 pictures there.
Yeah.
One periodic table and one architecture. That's it. Actually, the fact that I think that, for me personally, that's quite a big achievement that we got it down to those two pictures. And there's not too many arrows on them either, so you can still read them.
Yeah. See, it's interesting because every time I have these conversations, it's like herding cats. There's just, we can do this. Here's another use case, another one. And it's so exciting, and everything, this energy that exists around that. Eventually, somebody had to come in and say, okay, hey, ho. Let's just sort of bring it down to something that's a little bit more tangible, and again, a little bit more approachable.
No, absolutely, and there's definitely, I think Peter and I having the privilege of sharing those individual pieces can definitely relate to the herding cats piece.
Yes.
But that kind of, brings me to where we are now, and we've got a particular initiative that I'm really excited about, which is our cross-functional use case. So this is looking at bringing together as many of the, I think it's 12 verticals as we can. Now, I think we've got 7 we've managed to pull into one use case. You can't catch everything. And also bringing in as many vendors into a single use case as well to showcase the challenges and to actually really quickly, with end users present, actually iterate on those and build something practical. So what we've managed to do, and we only started this in December, and we're going to be demonstrating it at Transform in June.
Yes.
So it's a pretty quick turnaround.
That's huge.
We started with 17 vendors who all expressed interest. We're now down to 11, just in terms of the ability to move at pace, and we've filtered out some of the requirements. We've got, and the use case focused on resilience. Good term. So again, looking at sustainability, but from a very particular angle. So this again, which is kind of where I really like to focus, is sustainable digital twin. So looking at operational resilience, this could be natural disasters, could be a road traffic incident, could be a health incident, you name it.
Could it be COVID?
Could be COVID. Could be COVID. Absolutely. I'm not sure if any of us want to touch that one.
No.
But that's a separate...
That's a classic example. I'm not resilient.
Yeah, that might require more than 11 vendors, though.
Yeah, that's right.
So what's really exciting about this piece in particular is we're in across the members who are involved, 3 continents.
Oh.
Yeah. We've got, here in the US, we've got a end user in California, we've got an end user in Singapore, and we've got 2 end users in the UK. So these are members of the consortium, but they all own or manage property. So physical buildings, in this case, real estate.
Yeah.
We have a kind of public sector government body in the US. I think it's county level from memory. We have the University of Leeds. Helps in my background.
I was just going to say, your stat card is just full of leads.
It is. I wonder why. It helps when I live, 5 miles away. It does help. So we have the University of Leeds with one of their buildings, which is actually an incubator with 80 companies in it. So there's actually quite a lot of movement, a lot of different complexities with that. Then we have, also in Leeds, we have White Rose Park, which is a major both shopping centre and a business park with, I think it's over 5,000 people work there every day. And there's HSBC's based there, there's some high security sites, there's also a high school on site. So and there's a train station that's being built, will open this summer. So it's interesting because it's actually a mini smart city all in one sort of couple square mile radius, which is quite fascinating. We then have a major hospital over in the Far East is also involved. So all different pieces of that puzzle representing different things. Now, to a certain extent, we're playing with the people who volunteered. Right. So you sort of, why have we got the hospital over there? Because you're not exactly going to put someone in an ambulance from Leeds to Singapore.
Yeah.
But it's showcasing the key thing. And then we've got the different vendors whose customers those already are, and that's how they came in. So, for example, we have Actionable, which is based between Singapore and Melbourne. They are very much looking at extended reality, so all your headsets and 3D. Yep. So they're the ones working with hospitals. So they're looking at how do you create really user-friendly ways for looking in real time at what's going on, including viral dispersion. So there is a slight relationship to COVID. So they're looking at that, and then the question is, can they tie that into a data fabric that we put across all of the use cases, and be able to show in a RAG model, so red, amber, green,
right,
of literally, well, which rooms, which buildings are red, amber, or green.
Right.
Very easy we all familiar with, that hopefully from traffic lights, whether we listen to them or not.
I was just going to say, it's a classic dashboard approach.
It is the classic.
Red, bad, yellow, watch, and green, good.
And it works. Everyone knows it.
It does.
If it's not broken, don't change it.
Yeah, really.
So doing that on the office site and replicating that immediately. So we've got them. We have another member called Intuitus, which is adding a cybersecurity framework.
Oh, good. Good.
But that's also really interesting because they're going to be they're demonstrating how actually you can have a digital twin of the digital twin itself. So they're looking at the network and the cyber and how we can use the digital twin to monitor that.
Oh,
so you see,
sure.
This multifaceted thing come together. There's another member, there's EDX, who's doing some zoom in, some really clever geospatial stuff. We have CRISP again, who are providing the underlying foundational fabric of data in that assured piece, because that's what they do. It's all about that assurance that we were talking about a minute ago. And they're saying, actually, if you want to show that something is compliant and that there isn't an incident here, well, actually, we need to show we can trust the data, and we need to migrate a holiday from paper. So they're already doing that. So we're bringing them in, and then there's a couple other members there as well. So the really interesting thing and exciting thing about this is actually we're bringing people together of different sizes companies. Some of these are one or two people teams to obviously kind of multinationals in there as well, and there's people waiting on the sidelines to get involved. So there's going to be a phase 2 and a phase 3 as this thing will grow, and we're looking forward to bringing in like Sempro and others into the conversation as the data becomes available, and you kind of go through the life cycle of this. But the nice thing about this is that this is one of the first times we're able to so quickly bring together this number of vendors to build a full digital twin system, and we're doing it following the path of the capability priority table, going through the platform stack architectural framework, and going through to deployment, and be able to track and show where it went wrong as well, show the challenges that we all had to face, and we've all come with different perspectives. Some of us software engineers, some of us not. So we're literally in the space of about 6 to 9 months. We're doing that whole thing, including a cloud deployment, and this thing will be up and running live with White Rose Park and a couple of the others actually using it. So this isn't this isn't going to be a toy example. At the end of it, this is in use.
For the listeners out there, make it as simple as possible. Why is a digital twin or that approach important for business?
I mean, I think fundamentally it comes down to two things. First of all, it brings your data to life. Okay. Because we've all got data. Every business has data.
But then again, what you did in the beginning, you said, let's get that data accurate, clean, scrubbed, whatever.
Yeah, there's all that stuff.
Yep.
And actually, those are some of the challenges we're looking at as we go through this piece as well. Is we've got different use cases, different vendors, different people providing data, and it's all in different formats. Of course it is.
Of course.
Why would it be? But actually, if we can bring it to life, making it actionable.
Yeah.
Because actually, when we're looking at health and safety incident or even environmental incident, whichever, if you record the data and you put it on a piece of paper and then you put it in the drawer.
So what? It doesn't do anything.
It only matters when you suddenly have your audit.
Yeah.
And they say, I'd like to see all your paperwork. And they go through and say, what did you do about this? And then you're thinking, we didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Then you get sued.
Yeah.
Then you're taken to court. Yeah. Whatever it is. So actually, a digital twin is at the most basic level is bringing that together. And some people might say, well, isn't that just a dashboard? And actually, dashboards are an important element because otherwise
right.
you can have all the headsets and you can have all the other things, but you probably need a dashboard. But the key word in the definition that we published about a digital twin a couple of years ago now, we described a digital twin as being a virtual representation of a real-world entity or process. So it's not just your buildings, it could be your processes as well. You kind of need both. Synchronized at a specified frequency or fidelity. And the word synchronized is key, because otherwise, load the data, fine, yesterday we're all good.
Yeah.
Well, I've no idea about today.
Yeah.
So the key thing is actually that constant synchronization, that constant thing, actually we are constantly in the loop. And then as you get more advanced with these digital twins, you're then adding that forecasting, that prediction.
See, that's where everything is, and simulations.
And simulations, absolutely.
I love the simulations.
Absolutely. But actually, one of the things that I'm really keen about, and at Counterpoint, we're really looking at is don't start with that. Start with getting your data landscape right. Just because actually this is one of the things that we really focus on. Myself and others in the team, we're working with, I think must be about a dozen startups at this point. We're also working with accelerator programs, helping run accelerator programs in the north of the UK. And we're looking at putting 400 researchers through an accelerator program in the next 18 months. So, we're not hanging around. You
guys are bold, man.
We are.
They're bold, baby.
And they're going to cross every sector you can think of. Some really cool stuff, from social sciences to the arts and humanities through to deep tech. But the really fundamental thing is doing it differently. And thinking about how do we return value as soon as possible. If, we talk about this, maybe a mega digital twin project. And you're like, okay, so when's it going to be ready? 2 or 3 years.
18 months.
I'm like, okay, this sounds like every IT project, doesn't it? But
yes.
Actually, that's not what excites me. And that's why I like working with some of the companies and bringing different people together. So a lot of the people I'm working with, I'm bringing people, I like Crisp as a really good example of this, is they don't have that all the funky stuff that might be why you're going to spend $2 million.
Yeah.
But actually, the first $100,000 you'll spend with them will then return value in 2 weeks.
No way.
Because, what we'll do is we'll send an auditor, walk around your site, check all the paperwork, scan the paperwork, we'll put it in, tidy it all up. Job's good.
What's the rule of thumb? How far back do you go with the data?
It depends on the sector.
Yeah.
So if it's schools, you're going back quite a way.
Yeah.
And some of that can take time.
See, it's always, I've had that conversation a number of times, like how far do you want to go back? Because nobody wants to clean the data, so less time is less data to scrub and all that. So
but by keeping it simple, you kind of go through that. But the key thing is we say, right, well, what we're going to do is everything moving forward from this point is in the new format.
Yeah.
Everything, just stop. So then we can take our time cleaning it up, but actually we're not creating more junk.
Yeah, good point.
And significantly, what we've done was in a couple of weeks, we've got this environment where we've now got this data fabric, this foundational layer that's already returned value. It's saving you money. It's showing you that live, that actionable insight that now we can go to the XMMs, the XM Pros, we can add all those things on top and start adding that extra value. But you've got value on your £2 million within 2 weeks.
I love it. You never disappoint. I was excited to see your name on my calendar. I said, yes. All right. How do people get a hold of you, my friend?
Reach out on LinkedIn.
Yeah. That's where I go. Right answer. All right, we're going to have all the contact information for David out on Industrial Talk. If you haven't listened to his past podcast, it's a must listen to. He never stands still. He embodies industry as it changes. He changes. He's amazing. Yeah,
it was a pleasure.
I've got the trading card to prove it. All right, listeners. Once again, we're broadcasting from Reston. It's OMG's Q1 meeting, and again, you're going to get a bunch of people like David coming on the podcast, sharing their insights. They're doing a lot here at this particular event. We're going to wrap it up on the other side. Stay tuned. We will be right back.
You're listening to the Industrial Talk Podcast Network.
Here's a call to action. Clean that data. That'd be good on a shirt. Clean that data. Then you can do all the cool stuff that comes from great, clean, scrubbed, validated data to help your business become more resilient, efficient, make better decisions. David never disappoints. Every time I talk to David, I feel like I'm just scratching the surface of what he knows. And I mean, I've spoken to him a number of times. It's all out on Industrial Talk. I'm telling you, that is one guy you need to connect with. He definitely, just a little glimmer of his insights. Digital Twin Consortium, OMG, is the event, the Q1. That was great. All right. Again, go out to Industrial Talk. Reach out. It's all about education, collaboration, and innovation. David, be bold, be brave, dare greatly. Hang out with David. Change the world. We're going to have another great conversation shortly, so stay tuned.